Cody Damon. I am the president of MediaCause. We are a digital nonprofit ad agency. We focus exclusively on the nonprofit space. And what we talked about today was the resources that it actually takes to be successful in digital marketing, and how that pertains to the resources that are generally available to nonprofit organizations. So there's three questions that I like to really ask when we start working with a nonprofit. The first one is always, I think, the most important one is, what are the goals? What are you trying to accomplish? And where we like to really dive into those is, what are the measurable goals? Especially in digital marketing, it's so important that when you're trying to accomplish something, that you create a data trail to create a metrics kind of measurement plan to make sure that you're actually getting there, instead of it just being, we want new donors or we want more donors. Really laying out a plan of how to get there and then being able to measure it each step along the way. The second kind of bigger question that we ask is around audience, and this is generally a really helpful exercise in just honing in for nonprofits who their target audience actually is. Who are those, who's the donor profile? Who is the folks that are going to be engaging with your content? Who are the folks that are going to be becoming supporters and advocates of your organization? And the final thing is just trying to be realistic about what resources are available at your nonprofit, whether that's from a human resources standpoint, who's actually going to be executing a digital marketing strategy. And then the second part of that is financial resources, as a lot more of these platforms have become more pay to play, especially Facebook and Twitter, where you need to have some advertising dollars to actually be successful on these platforms. Understanding those constraints out of the gate is generally kind of how we start the conversation. We talked about 9 different tools that nonprofits could potentially use to have an effective digital marketing strategy. The first 6 of them were kind of the big social tools: Facebook, Twitter, off the top of my head, Tumblr, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest. Those are generally the kind of the biggies that we look at. And then we dove into a little bit of what the tools are beyond social. We talked about email and how effective that is, and how it's truly the most effective communications tool that nonprofits have. And we talked about the Google for Nonprofit program, which in terms of its value and its return on investment for nonprofits is probably the most important. And finally, we talked about blogging and how important that is for organizations, especially for smaller organizations that don't have a lot of resources. You can really get a lot out of your blog. And there's certain platforms that just don't work really well with nonprofits, and kind of the litmus test for us is, are the resources required to be successful too much? A really good example of that may be YouTube. YouTube's a great platform and really effective at garnering attention and gaining supporters, but it's a heavy burden for nonprofits to commit to creating the amount of videos that's required to be successful. Another litmus test may just be, does this platform have the ability to actually drive traffic back to your website, where you can have a bigger conversation and get someone to donate, get someone to take an action. Platforms like Instagram or Pinterest really don't do that well of a job at it, and it's something where you may be able to focus on these other platforms in a more strategic way than trying to spread yourself thin across too many.